So with Thanksgiving a few weeks away, today I'm going to show you how I make a Thanksgiving serving platter. And I'm going to make it out of this beautiful piece of cherry. So this project is a little bit more involved. It's a two-sided project and it has a lot of tool paths. So this one can get a little bit complicated. And it's also going to take a little bit of a while. It's a pretty long and detailed design process and carving. So without any further ado, let me take you into Vectric. I'll show you how I designed it, and then from there we'll come back and we'll start talking setup.
All right, so I'm here in Vectric Aspire, and for the job setup, this project will be double-sided. It will be, for my project, it's 20 inches wide, 16 inches long or in height, and it'll have a thickness of 1.75 inches. As usual, I'll be zeroing from the material surface from the left front, and my flip directions from one side to the other will be horizontally this way. All right, so once we've got that, then I will go to clip art. And again, I purchased the Thanksgiving package here. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take their assembly and I'll drag it here. And now I'll point something out in a second, but I'm going to go back here and just make sure it's aligned. Okay. And then I'm going to let it see how close I can get it to fit the material. And that's close enough. Okay. So the only thing I don't like about this particular, let's say, package is that there's two little blank areas right here. And for a Thanksgiving platter, it's missing a turkey. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the turkey that they have here and I'm going to add it in onto the surface. So I'm going to first reduce it down in size and see if it will fit on there. Yeah, it's still kind of big. And that looks pretty close. Okay. So from here, I'm going to duplicate it. And then I'll drag it over here. And from there, I'm going to mirror it horizontally. So I turn it around. And that looks pretty cool like that. Okay, so now from here, I'm going to go to the 3D view. And now that I have the turkey selected, I can alter or change its height. And that's what I want to do, because as you can see, it's perfectly flat. It's inside the wood. It's not above it yet. So we want to get it above all the other features there. So you just simply raise it up. And we'll take a look at it and make sure all of the features are coming through. And it looks like it's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good. I don't want it really, really, really high. So that looks great. All right, so you would just repeat the same process for the turkey on the other side. For keeping the video short, I'm not going to do both of them. So now that you understand how to do that, and then I'm also going to reduce the height of the actual piece as well. I don't want it this thick. It's way too much, and I may have to adjust the turkey as well afterwards. So we'll see. I believe I had it at about 2. And right around there looks pretty good. All right, so now, yes, certainly I'm going to have to go back and lower the turkeys way too high there. There. Okay, that's perfect. Okay, so I've gone ahead and done the other turkey as well off camera. And so now I'm going to go back to the 2D view, and we need to create a boundary around the entire perimeter. So I'm going to go ahead and select that, and then go down to here, create a vector boundary, and we'll go ahead and do that. We're going to need that for our tool paths. When I do the profile to cut it free, we're going to use that. And now I also need to create another ellipse or oval on the center here. And the reason being, I'm going to create a separate tool path with a bold tray bit to do this center part here and get it a little deeper. So let me show you how I go about doing that. So I'm going to draw an ellipse, and doesn't matter the size because I'm going to expand upon it anyway. Oops. And that looks pretty good. So I'll leave that just like that. So now we have that for our toolpath as well. And it also helps me to isolate. So when doing the finish carving, the 3D finish carving, I can isolate it to just this area, and it won't do this in here. It saves a tremendous amount of time when machining. All right, so for this side, that is all that we need to do. So now we're going to jump over to the back side. So I'll simply flip it over. And now I need to do the same thing. I need to create a dome. So we're going to go back to clip art here. And under clip art, I have domes and dishes on mine. And I'm going to use the lowest, which is the 30-degree dome. And I'll take that and bring it over. And now clearly that's a circle, so we're just going to stretch it out and make it into an ellipse. Pretty simple. And just keep doing that until it matches the shape of the other side. Yeah, and that's pretty close. Okay, so now go to the 3D view, and you can see that we've got, pretty cool looking dome there. The only problem is we need a flat bottom on that. That's not going to work. And so what I will do there now is go back to the 2D view, and it's pretty simple. I'm just going to make another ellipse, and we'll use that for the tool path. So same thing, just I'm going to stretch it out. That's pretty close. Okay, so I'm going to use this for a toolpath, a surfacing toolpath, and I will create a flat surface on the bottom, using this as well. Okay, so from here it's pretty simple. We just go ahead and create our toolpaths, and I'm going to start from this side of the dish, which is the bottom of the dish. And so we'll just go to our material setup. Again, material is 1 3/4 inches thick. My XY datum is always here in the left front. I'll be working off the material surface, and I have a gap, so I am just going to space it out like that, and I'll leave the majority of the material on the bottom. And okay, so everything else looks good. All right, so from here, to do the bottom, I'm going to select the dome that we've created there, and I will go to the 3D roughing toolpath, and I will be using, let me see if this is the right one. Yes, so I happen to have a 3/8 inch 3-flute this is a compression end mill. So I'm going to be using this for the roughing. It's a little bit bigger. There's no real detail, so that should be fine. I'm using a 40% step over, 18,000 RPM, at 160 inches a minute of feed rate and 130 inches plunge rate. All right, so that looks good. I'm going to leave it. And on this one, I'm going to be going to the material boundary. So we want to remove all of this excess material around it. So I just want to make sure you're aware of that. No offset. And I will keep on, again, the avoid machined area to save time. We're going to 3D raster it on a 45-degree angle. And it should be fine. So I'm going to click calculate. All right, so let's preview it. Okay, so now that that toolpath is finished, I can close out that, and we still have it highlighted, so I'll go back in and create the 3D finishing toolpath, which I will be using a 1/4 inch ball nose end mill. Just to show you the settings on that, it's a 2-flute upcut end mill. I'm using a 6% step over, 18,000 RPM, 160 inches a minute feed rate at 130 inches plunge rate. Again, no details, real open cutting, so it's really, really easy to do. So we'll say okay to that. And on this one, same thing. We will go to the material boundary, no offset. And I'm also going to cut this one rastered again at a 45-degree angle. And calculate that. Okay, let's preview it. Okay, so now that that's done, we'll just close that out. And for this, I'm going to go back to the 2D view so that I can select this ellipse that I made before. And now we are going to create the flat bottom for this. So we're going to go back over here to make a pocket toolpath. And my start depth will be at 0. And I'm going to come down. I'm going to go a 1/2 inch on this one. I believe that was about the right, the right height for that. And then I will use my surfacing end mill. Mine's 1 1/4 inches in diameter. It's a 4-flute. And I will be cutting at a 40% step over, and I will have a pass depth of, we'll go with 1/8 of an inch. It's 16,000 RPM, 130 inches per minute in the feed rate, and 30-inch plunge rate. So I'll apply that. And we will I'll use the raster on this one, 0 degree, and we'll calculate that. Let's preview it. All right, so let's have a look at it, and it seems like it's about right. I could probably go a little bit lower on that. let's go with 5/8. So I'll go with thereabouts. So there you have it. And that looks perfect there. So I got a perfectly flat bottom. It's just about the right height. So this side is done. So I will just close this out and I will flip it over and we'll do the tool paths for the top side now. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to the 2D view and select all of the components. So I'm holding down the shift key and we'll click that area. And I need to get actually over to the 3D view so I can select the turkey. There we go. Okay. So now we'll head over to the 3D roughing toolpath. And I'm going to be using a 1/4 inch 2-flute upcut end mill with a 40% step over, 18,000 RPM, a pass depth of 0.12, and 130 inches a minute, 120 inches per minute plunge rate. So I'll select that. We'll be using the material boundary for our machining limit, no offset. And I'm going to roster it on a 45-degree angle. Again, avoid machining any areas. I don't think it pertains to this one, but let's calculate. And preview it. Okay, so that looks great. I will close that out. So now that it's still selected, I will go back to the 2D view because now I need to select the separate areas for the finishing toolpath. So I'm going to again hold down the shift key and the 2 ellipses that I drew earlier, I will now select those. And here under the finishing toolpath for the tool, I am using my tapered ball end mill. This is a 1/16 diameter and it's an upcut. My pass depth is 0.125. I'll be with a 14% step over, 18,000 RPM, 140 inches for feed rate, and 130 inches per minute on my plunge rate. And I will be using the selected vectors on this one because we want it to keep it in between these 2 vectors that we have isolated. So we have no boundary offset, and I will be cutting this on a roster as well, 45-degree angle. Let's calculate that. Excellent. All right, so now we'll preview it. Okay, so that looks awesome. That is good. I'll close that out. I can now unselect that and go back to the 2D view. We're going to now create a little bit of a dish inside of here that's not deep enough. So I will go back and select that inner ellipse. And then we'll come here to the pocket toolpath, select that, and I will be at a start depth of 0. I'm going to try to cut down to 5/8 of an inch, and I will remove that tool. I'm going to select my bowl and tray bit. Okay, so this is my 3/4 inch diameter, 1/4 inch radius on the tip with a 1/2 inch shank bowl and tray bit, and it's 2-fluter. The pass depth is going to be at 0.2, and my step over will be 30% for this first pass, because what I do it in 2 passes. I do a roughing pass and then I do a very light cleanup pass as a second one. So it'll be 18,000 RPM, 120 inches per minute at a 40-inch plunge rate. So that is good, and it will be done in an offset pattern. This looks good. Actually, yes, I think that I might have to play with that cut depth. We'll see. Actually, nope, looks pretty darn good as is. I had a tighter step over on that one, so I like the way that looks. I'm not going to do a secondary cleanup pass on that one. So that looks fine. Okay, so now go back to the 2D view and I will select the perimeter of the tray. And we're going to do a profile toolpath. So I'll select that and start depth to 0, 1.03. I'm using my 1/4 inch end mill, and I'll go over the settings for you on that. Again, same thing. I'm cutting at 1/8 of an inch. This time I can actually increase that to 0.2, and we'll be going at 18,000 RPM as usual, 130 inches a minute, 120 inches plunge rate. And we are going on a climb cut outside of the vector. This all looks good. Okay. So now I want to take a look at the edge. I have to create an offset because as you can see, it didn't go in enough here. So we'll go back into the toolpath, and under allowance offset, I am going to go, so we'll go -0. I'm going to try 0.6. We'll try that initially and see how it looks, and then we might have to fine tune it. So I'll undo that last one. And let's take a look at that edge. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I like the way that looks. I have a slight bevel on the top here. And then by hand, after I remove it, I will ease this edge as well and blend it so that it all looks nice, like a rounded edge. So I think that looks good. The tray looks pretty good, the platter. So I think we're all set. So now from here, you just save all your tool paths, both top and bottom, to your computer, and then you're all set. So we're ready to go machining. Let's head over to the machine and start looking at the setup.
All right, so let's talk setup. So here I have my block of cherry. It's 1.75 inches thick, and it is 16 by 20. And what I've done here is I've set up a 90-degree perimeter edge as a guide so that every time I set up the block for both sides, I have a positive reference to set it back to. And the reason that that's so important is that once I carve one side and then, I go to flip it over on the other, and there's material missing on that one side that I just did, it's going to be a little hard to reference it back again. But with this here, I have an exact placement of where it should be, and it won't be any problem to locate it. So that's the setup. The key is this guide on the edge, and I will be holding it down with double stick tape as usual. And the first side is easy when I'm carving the bottom of the platter, but then when I go to flip it over, I will only have the flat spot that I created on the bottom, which is an oval, to stick the platter to the table here. So that, and then to control the scrap that I'm going to have, I will have to also create like a series of shims that I'll put underneath to locate that. I don't like using tabs. I could use them here, but I just don't want to. I prefer not to, and so I will control, again, the scrap wood and the platter just by using the double stick tape. I'll go over that more in detail when I get to that process. All right, so now that you've seen the setup, let's get into the roughing of the bottom of the platter.
Okay, so I finished the roughing pass on the bottom of the platter. As you can see here, a little hard to get that dome shape on the camera, but you can see it came out really well. So if anybody out there is interested in a roughing bit, let me tell you, this bit from ThigHue is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I'm blown away by it. It is a 3-flute upcut compression bit, and it's a rougher, so it's serrated. But let me just make sure I get that. There we go. But that bit is absolutely incredible. I mean, it was cutting through at 3/8 inch depth per pass at 180 inches per minute. And it was cutting it like it was cutting through butter. I mean, and absolutely clean, you know, on top, obviously on the bottom. I mean, it is one of the best bits I've ever seen. This is the first time I was using it. I never had an opportunity to, you know, to use it, and I figured this would be a great opportunity for it. But I'll leave a link in the description, you know, again, to it. And again, if you're in the market for a fantastic rougher, this is the one. I mean, wow, that certainly did the job. All right, well, I'm now loaded up with my 2-flute upcut end mill, ball end mill, so we will start the finishing pass on the bottom. So the finishing pass on the bottom of the bowl is just finished, and I got a little bored, so I went ahead and sanded the bottom to 220 to get rid of just some slight little lines that it had in it. And so now I'm going to set up the tool path to cut the flat bottom so that the platter has a base to sit on. So I just finished machining the flat base on the bottom of the platter, as you can see. And so now on this surface, when I'm gonna flip it over now, and I will use the double stick tape on this surface to hold it down and be able to machine the top. Okay, so here is my setup once I flip it over onto the other side and start machining the top. So I've created spacers here in the corners that equal the gap underneath the piece, and the flat part that I cut will sit inside of here. and the remainder of the scrap part of the wood, this part, will sit on top of these blocks that I've created so that I can control the scrap once it's cut off and I cut the profile. Everything will be locked in place, both the center platter and the scrap around it, so nothing will move and go into the bit. So here it is after the roughing pass, and looks pretty cool. You can start to see the leaves, the pumpkin, and the beginnings of a platter. I had a little bit of blowout here. The wood has some natural cracks in it, so no big deal. This is in the waste zone. So, and also at the back, it did the same thing. But yeah, looking good. Let me load in the ball end mill, and we'll start the finishing pass. Here it is after the finishing pass, and I cleaned it up a little bit with a nylon brush. I had a little issue right here on this corner where, when you're machining and you're removing wood, you remove the internal stresses that are keeping the wood together. And so this corner started to lift a little bit. And so I was getting a little bit of lines in it. I took them out. I just did a little hand sanding on it, but it was very, very minor. But all in all, came out pretty cool. I didn't go super crazy on detail on this one. I didn't want to have it take forever. This took 2.5 hours just to do the finishing pass, and it's pretty good. It's got some minor little lines in it, but again, I'm not going to go crazy on this one. So pretty cool. All right, let me now set it up, and we'll start to carve the inner tray area. And here it is. So I've taken it off the machine. I sanded it to 220 grit and beyond. And I wire brushed the front, the top facing surface with a nylon brush, and polished it up to about a 600 grit. And here you can see I am applying the mineral oil to the back of it, the bottom. And wow, look at that grain pop out. It is really, really a pretty piece of wood. So this piece, I will apply 2 coats of the mineral oil, as I usually do on my trays and so on and so forth. I'll wait about an hour or so in between, and then apply a second coat and buff it out to a nice luster. All right, so enjoy the music as I finish applying the mineral oil to the top side.
Well, here it is, all done. Not bad for something that was originally intended to be a wall plaque. With a couple of modifications and additions, you have a platter. And I'm really happy with the way this one turned out. It's really beautiful. I know I can't wait to use it on Thanksgiving. I hope you guys learned something from it. And if you did, please be sure to give me a thumbs up, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe. All right. With that, I will see you guys on the next one.